What is going on, folks? Welcome in. You are on the lifeboat. I'm Captain Calhoun, and we're going to talk about cravings today. Welcome in. Good to see you guys. It is always a pleasure to see your beautiful faces in the morning. Annika, hello, hello. Welcome back. It's been a while. I received your wonderful painting. Thank you so much. I had no idea that you were so skilled. I really appreciate it, and the rocks. I wanted to say thank you to you because I'm so stoked on them. And that's that. Yarn Prepper, good to see you. Yeah, I really enjoyed the rocks too. I have to say, I've never seen a rock, and maybe this is not a true statement, but I can't remember ever seeing a rock quite so green. This one is probably my new favorite. It's pretty friggin' sweet. It's pretty friggin' sweet, guys. It was a very thoughtful gift. Mark Giglio, hello, hello. Yarn Prepper, Caitlin, Diana Reese, good to see you guys. TKK, hello, hello. Jane Aldrich and Barbara, good to see you guys. Welcome in. Grace Twinkle Toes. I'm terrible about reading my emails. I finally got in there today, Jane, and I started reading your message that you sent me, your messages. So I appreciate your patience. I will get through it, I promise. Anka, hello, hello from the UK. Kristen Melinda, good to see you guys. Another hello from the UK, Grace Twinkletoes. All righty, I'm into it. Packer Girl, hello, hello. After 10 months, nicotine-free, I'm still grinding my teeth. Oh my. Do you mean grinding your teeth as in you're still like, kind of like chomping at the bit? Or you mean like physically grind your teeth and you thought that stopping smoking would stop that from happening? Which are we talking about? Either way, 10 months nicotine free, where'd my trophy go, is amazing. That's a huge deal. Since I've started intaking nicotine, I don't know if I've ever spent 10 months without. I guess that is the nature of craving and addiction, though, huh? Which we're going to break down and dissect today quite thoroughly. I have not had a ton of coffee this morning, even though it's sitting right in front of me because I was just working so hard on the show. It's kind of a swift put together, but there's a lot of information here. We have talked about this before, but not in this detail or this length. So I'm really excited to do so. Can you guys hear that guitar solo? I couldn't bring myself to turn it down anymore because it's so awesome. Watching from Boca Raton, originally from Boston. Hell yeah. Well, welcome aboard, Mark Giglio. It's good to see you, man. I hope you enjoy. Annika says, I may be finally 6 years heroin free, but I can't give up nicotine or caffeine. You know, nicotine and caffeine are two of my current vices. And I put down everything else. So I'm with you. I'm not going to limit myself by saying I'll never do that, right? I'll never put those things down. But right now I have not. So the reality is right now I'm caffeining and nicotining. But I'm not going to, it's not really a reservation, but it's like kind of in the same vein. I'm not going to limit myself by saying I don't know if I ever could, right? Kirsten says I'm a teeth grinder. Looks like we got a response here. Physically grinding because I quit. Okay, understood. Well, you know, it might be. Have you looked into getting like a mouth guard? I know that's super lame. I know that's not what we all want to do, but my mom has also experienced this with quitting nicotine. And I don't know if she kept the mouth guard or not, but she had one for a little while that she would wear at night to protect her teeth. I don't know if it did anything to stop her from grinding. This is definitely something that we should look into, though. It's not something that I have considered much before. Grinding the teeth. When I wake up, my initial reaction is to like stretch, and my mouth does this thing where it like clenches, and I have cracked teeth by in the morning just by stretching. Also, when this happened, I was drinking heavily. I was thoroughly dehydrated, right? You know, so my muscles were cramping and they didn't have what they needed. So, you know, there were other factors at play. But I definitely can relate with the teeth grind. Hey, what's going on, Dad? Love you too, man. I hope you feel better, man. Let's get some ones up for my dad and Uncle Johnny. I think Uncle Johnny's getting back on the horse, but my dad just just laid down. And the man deserves some rest. He does great things, but let's get some ones up for my pops. He needs some health sent his way. James Collins, what's going on? Good to see you, man. Cheryl Niles, cooking with the grandma. All right, this has been a nice, heartfelt start to an episode. What do you guys think, huh? Flick Fox, you boys are doing a fantastic job. Thank you. Jeremy Fowler, he'll bounce back. He always does. He always does. All right, let's pull my notes up here. Let's get back into some stuff here. Craving. This is the intense, often overwhelming desire for something. Now, I learned something today. I didn't know this, or I hadn't considered it, or maybe I just didn't internalize it. Craving is a physiological as well as a psychological response, right? It's in your head and in your body is what that means, right? It's not just in your head. It's not just a psychological thing. There are physiological components to this, right? Like a physical response. We talk a lot about how our body has a physical response to stuff, right? And now I'm not coming up with any examples, but this is both in your head and in your body. When you are experiencing the phenomenon of craving, an intense, often overwhelming desire for something. And this doesn't have to be a substance, right? This can be food. This can be, I wrote a bunch of examples down, didn't I? I feel like I did. What's going on here? I think I messed something up, folks. Oh, no. I'm sorry. I'm confused. When you write your notes in a little window and then you widen the window, it gets shorter because there's more. I was thinking, where's all the stuff I wrote? It's right here. It's just stretched out now. That being said, this doesn't have to be a substance, right? This could be food. This could be gambling. This could be really any behavior that releases dopamine in your brain, right? Often triggered by cues in the environment. So I will often feel craving because of internal emotions or because I'm feeling stressed, right? And this feeling is often experienced as a need, a hunger for something. And this hunger, it's in a way in your head that it feels like it's going to provide relief or pleasure if I just give in, right? If I give into this craving, I'm going to have some temporary relief or pleasure. That's how it feels. That's what my brain is telling my body, right? Now, cravings play a significant role in addiction and compulsion due to it strengthening the connection between behavior and reward of satisfaction that follows, right? So all of that to say, having cravings and then giving into cravings strengthens the relationship, right, between me and my addiction. So if I'm obsessing over having a drink and then I go have that drink and I experience that temporary relief, that temporary satisfaction and pleasure, my brain is reinforcing that. We talk about the brain's reward system a lot, right? My brain is thinking to itself, oh, fantastic. We're going to make sure we remember that this is awesome. So next time we can just do it again, right? Our brain is starting to expect these responses. Our brain is starting to mold itself to this behavior, right? It likes when dopamine's dropped on it, it's built to, programmed to say, okay, this is good, right? Well, these signals coming from addictions or coming from overeating or coming from your brain's getting a little twisted up, right? It's not serving itself, even though this process is supposed to reinforce good behaviors and remember bad happenings, right? Like touching a hot stove. That's what this part of your brain is for, right? I touch the stove, it's hot. I reach back, right? And I remember next time not to do that because my brain put those chemicals down and, that's how that works. Well, with addiction, the same exact thing is happening, except what we are reinforcing, the behavior that's being reinforced is hurting us, right? There's negative consequences. So our brain's missing that part. Our brain doesn't get that part. Only we really experience that part, right? Because afterwards, later on, I'm devoid, right? And the farther down the rabbit hole you go, the worse it gets. And the whole time you're reinforcing this part of your brain, right? The whole time you're spiraling down further and further, getting worse and worse. Your brain is thinking this is good, right? As far as this reward system part of your brain is concerned, this is good, right? That's why it's such a hard thing to break. That's why this is one of the reasons this is such a difficult road to walk. Annika says, I got the weirdest food cravings and then I'll hyperfixate over the same thing for weeks or months. You and I have the same kind of stuff going on. I do this as well. And when I was new to recovery, I got that dopamine fix drugs gave me by buying pointless things. There's a rap line from, it's very irrelevant, but I'm a nerd. Nipsey Hussle says in a couple of his songs, spending racks is therapeutic. A rack refers to $1,000. So he's saying spending lots of money makes me feel good. And I think so. I think that this is not an uncommon um, sentiment. I think other people feel this way as well. I can definitely relate. I have to say, when I first got sober, sugar became a huge part. I mean, sugar had already been a huge part of my life because alcohol basically breaks down to sugar in your body, right? That's part of why extra sugary alcohols have such terrible hangovers, right? Like wine and I don't know. So I can think of some other stuff if I tried really hard, but I guess rum is fermented sugar cane, so that's a pretty good one. Um, all of that to say something. Oh yeah, sugar became a huge part of my diet. It still is somewhat, but much less than when I first started quitting. Started quitting. Ian Wallace, good to see you. Welcome in. Caitlin says I found replacing where I was getting my reward from helped. This is very intelligent. This is great. Choosing to replace on an unhealthy habit with a healthy one, cutting sugar out as much as possible, and adding in physical activity. This is a formula for success right here, right? You know, the only way to break a habit is to make a habit. You got to replace your habit with something else. At least that's what they say. I don't know who they are, but they sure seem to say a lot and know a lot. That being said, this is great. This is exactly what we want to be doing. We want to be replacing our habits with a healthy one, right? And then a little bit of harm reduction, right? Cut out as much sugar as we can, add in some physical activity, and we're off to the races. Boom, right? This is a wonderful start. What's going on, Dale? Good to see you. I am feeling well. I did give my dad a huge hug a few days ago, and I've been feeling a little bit nasally for about a week. So maybe I got the weak sauce strain of what they have because I feel pretty great. Although there's definitely some nasal stuff going on. And I didn't have anything spicy today, so it ain't that. I know it's not because of my habits. Good morning, Sharona. How are you? And how are you, Dale? How you doing, brother? It's good to see you, man. Welcome in. Thank you for the well wishes. I'm sure Pops will bounce back. He's pretty good like that. All right. I feel like I missed something. I'm going to read a little bit of chat and then jump back into what I'm talking about. Runners high. That is right. One of the reasons to segue into physical activity. One of the reasons physical activity is so beneficial for us, people in our position, is because it trains that reward system, the one we're talking about, right? When we have a craving and then we give in, it's strengthening that bond between addiction and reward, right? Which is not good in the long run for us. But if we go out and get physical exercise in, the same process is happening in our brain, except with a healthy habit, right? And we can apply this to other things as well. It doesn't have to be exercise. The reason exercise is so good is because you can't exercise and not release dopamine, right? It's just that's what's going to happen. It's how your body is structured, right? It's how it's going to work. But we can, with a little bit of extra effort, we can make other activities do the same thing, right? Anything novel, anything that you're doing for the first time is going to also affect this reward system, right? And if you go out and try new things and get outside of your comfort zone, like we talked about a few episodes ago, this is going to do the same thing, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be physical activity. I know some people can't really do physical activity, right? I'm blessed with a healthy, strong body, I'm blessed with youth. So I don't want to take that for granted. I know that there are people that aren't necessarily on the same page, right? So that being said, we can do novel experiences, and also that's why we do the art day, right? That's why I do the painting. It seems a little bit out of place when we talk about addiction, and then all of a sudden I'm painting and wearing a wig. But the point is, we're building novel experiences together, right? We're experiencing things together for the first time. We're building new hobbies, new addictions, right? I'm not saying get addicted to painting, but if you do something new and you enjoy it, it's going to do the same thing to your brain that indulging a craving will do, except it'll be good instead of bad. You know, we'll be reinforcing a good habit rather than a bad habit, right? Anyways, I digress. I went off on that one, but thank you for this comment, runner's high, because it made me think of all of those things that are completely relevant. Thank you, Mark. I miss running. Running was the most beneficial exercise that I ever did, but also the most difficult. Mentally, more than physically. I mean, it's obviously not physically easy, but man, the my head gets starts to be my enemy when I'm running for long distances. It's like, bro, just take a break, just walk, just stop. My brain is like so my enemy when I'm going for long runs. Perhaps some tink time today, Cap. We could I could be convinced maybe. It's been like a week, hasn't it? It's been at least a week. Let's get through some of these big words and then I'm probably down. TKK says, Spanx, yoga helped me to start walking without crutches after 3 years in a wheelchair, then walking chair and crutches. 7 years later, I'm walking, renovating, trying to live a normal life, normal in quotes. Well, I think that is absolutely wonderful progress, TK. I tell you what, when you're walking now, right? So that's a huge, huge difference. That's wonderful. And you know, normal is subjective, right? My normal's not your normal. I think normal is an interesting word because it refers to the norm, right? What everybody would perceive as normal, but all of our normals are different. So it's a very strange word. So remember that normal is whatever you make it, right? If you're comfortable and you're happy, right? You have joy, you have comfort, you have love. I think that that's all that you really need. And you can structure that in a billion different ways, right? So um, I'm glad that things are looking up. I'm glad you're walking. Rich, that's right. Rich in spirit, baby. That's what I'm talking about. That's the whole purpose of the boat here. We would like to be rich in spirit. We'd like to be a little bit better than we were yesterday. Rich Furren, I'm celebrating 15 years clean today. Holy crap, that is a huge number, bro. Dude, that's a big deal. Good for you, man. Well done. I look forward to having this amount of time. I look forward to having more time clean than I had sober, or I look forward to having more time clean than I had not. You know what I mean? Which has never ever been the case. Well, that's not true. It hasn't been the case for many, many years, right? My unsobriety overtook my sobriety many years ago. Many, many years ago. Yarn Prepper says, "Can you explain tinctures and why you do them?" I can try. I can do my best. So, do I? I think I have one on my desk that I keep knocking over. Yeah, this Grizzly Heat. So, I'm also going to pull up a little bit of assisted information here. When I define things, I like them to be Oxford style. You know, I like them to be Oxford quality. Let's go. We've done this once before. A tincture is a solution of plant or animal material dissolved in ethanol. The concentration, and they don't all use ethanol. This is just the most common practice. In fact, this is the only tincture that I have, other than the one Dale Cox gave me, that uses ethanol as a solvent. I don't know. I don't know what the ones that don't use ethanol use, but it you can tell the difference. Instead of tasting like you can taste like that alcohol punch. Um, the ones that don't use ethanol taste like straight up peppers and heat, which is wonderful. Anyways, the concentration of ethanol in tincture is usually between 25 and 60%, but can be as high as 90. In chemistry, a tincture is any solution that uses ethanol as a solvent. So that is a bunch of mumbo jumbo. So basically, this tincture is So the oil inside hot peppers that makes them hot is called capsaicin. So this is capsaicin dissolved in ethanol, basically, which serves to separate the capsaicin from everything else in the pepper. So we are boiling down. What's the word for that? It's not dilute. It's concentrate. It's basically concentrated capsaicin, right? We separated the capsaicin from everything else in the pepper, and then this is what's left. That's what the ethanol does, right? This one does have ethanol. Has used alcohol to do so. Now, so that's what it is, right? It's pure capsaicin. It's pure spice. It's pure heat. This one has a little bit of ethanol because it's the vehicle they use to separate, right? To separate the capsaicin from everything else. Anyways, that being said, that's what it is. Why do we do it? Well, to remind myself that I'm alive, because it's fun. Maybe because I'm a little wrong in the head. People say that it has benefits. People say that there are physical, benefits to doing so. I don't necessarily disbelieve that, but that's not why I do it. I don't do it because it makes me feel good. Well, that's not true. I do it because it makes me feel good. When you do capsaicin, your body feels like it's dying. Its response is, this shouldn't be inside of us. So my brain, being the wonderful little brain that it is, will drop endorphins. It'll drop my own little, home cooked painkiller, basically. And it's not going to necessarily kill pain, but it's going to make me feel good. It gives you like a little endorphin dump, a little rush. And I guess that's why I do it. But also, I really like the spice. There's definitely something wrong with me. I like the burn. There is like a level where I don't like it anymore. Like, hey, this is too much, obviously, right? But that being said, I do it for really no good reason, and it's spice. Thanks for letting me ramble about that. Hopefully, that was a sufficient explanation. We're a little all over the place today, folks. That's okay, though. I squirrel around, squirrel a boot. This song is called 10 Billion Years. It's an imperceivable amount of time. Inconceivable. All right, so let's talk about the components here. I said earlier there's a psychological component and a physiological. So the psychological component, that means in your head. So we're going to anticipation. We mentally anticipate the pleasure or relief that comes with indulging in our craving, right? Emotional urgency. Cravings are often accompanied by emotional stress or anxiety, especially when cravings go unmet, right? Leading to feelings of frustration or irritability, which is going to reinforce this process, right? All not good things. Now, obsessive thoughts, intrusive thoughts about the object of your craving. We're most likely going to obsess, right? Which can dominate the mental focus, right? They can take up residence in our head and like take over the joint, right? So when we're in this state of mind, when we're having a craving, it's pretty intense, right? We just said it comes along with emotional urgency, obsessive thoughts. I'm going to be anticipating, well, what do I do? How do I break myself out of here? Well, it only takes 8 minutes to distract your mind. If you can phone a friend or you can engage in an activity that your focus, right? Do something for someone else, some service work, something. Do something for 8 minutes, right? And it will serve to distract your mind. I often will call my dad and be like, "Hey, you got 8 minutes?" And he'll be like, "Yeah." He'll know exactly what I'm talking about, and we'll spend 10, 15 minutes talking on the phone. By the end of it, I won't remember what was bugging me. Um, or I, at the very least, won't be bugged by what was bugging me, right? I may remember what it is, but it doesn't have its claws in me anymore. I have served to distract, and other things are at the front of my mind now, right? Um, also, also recognize that this is a pattern, right? Recognize exactly what's going on. You're in a cycle of craving, right? So we want to break that cycle. And if we can, we win, right? So I was just going to say something from another show. My brain is struggling today. Oh, contrary action. Recognize that we're in a cycle, right? Do the opposite of what your urges are telling you to do, right? If my urge tells me to go down, walk down by the bar, right, just to see who's there or whatever, that's how I've convinced myself. Well, don't do that. Maybe I'll walk up the street to my mom's house and mow her lawn, you know? I don't know. Maybe I'll walk up the street to the library instead and read a book. That's probably not the best thing to do when I'm having an alcohol craving, if that's what it is, right? But regardless, we want to do something else. Contrary action, right? That's another avenue. That's another thing that we can do. Also, if you feel like sitting in your discomfort, you can bust the journal out and really dive into that feeling and emotion, right? You can bust the journal out and write down everything that you're thinking, everything that you're feeling. And this may serve to make things feel a little bit worse at first, right? But it's going to get all of those thoughts out of your head, which will, at the end of the day, feel better, right? It may stir the pot up a little bit. You might get some dust in the air from writing all that stuff down metaphorically, right? But in the long run, it's worth it. But just know when you do that, when you take the journal out and you write down all the thoughts that you're having right this second, and you're in the middle of like an intense, feeling or an intense thought process, it's probably going to make whatever's going on more intense initially, right? Because I'm punching the beehive a little bit, right? They're going to get all buzzy real quick, but then we're going to talk about it and then we'll be friends. So it kind of goes up and then back down. But that's how a lot of these things are going to work. A lot of these methods and solutions that we have for recovery are are to walk through the fire and come out stronger. You know what I mean? And that's not by design. That's out of necessity. That's what we've got. It's what we can do. It's what we've learned. It's the methods that we have. Obviously, it would be wonderful if we could just press a button and everything would be fine, right? We didn't have to walk through any fire, but we wouldn't learn anything, you know. And if everything was easy, I think everything would suck. So that's my opinion. I think everything has a purpose, right? Struggle, ease, all of these things serve a unique purpose. Yeti Man Channel, hello, hello, Andrew B. What's going on, guys? Andrew B says, I've been struggling with my recovery a lot lately. Been in program for years. Just my life situations didn't change, if that makes sense. Well, Andrew, I don't know. Life situations could mean a lot of things, but often I have to change my own life situations. They don't change for me. If my life situations are changing for me, it's usually not at my benefit. It's usually at my expense. When I think of my life situation changing, I think of like being arrested or missing a drug test for my PO, or I think of terrible things. But maybe that's not what you're talking about. I definitely had to change my people, places, and things. I had to change everything. In fact, I moved to Tucson. My dad lives here. I don't know anybody here except my dad. I mean, I have some cousins here, but we're not super close. We were close when I was a kid. Never got out of your area, etc. Word. I think that that's going to be a very difficult road to travel, and that doesn't mean you can't succeed there. But changing your people, places, and things is going to make a dramatic difference, bro. And obviously easier said than done, right? It's not like everyone just has the ability to pack up and move, or that may not be the case. But I tell you what, you do have the ability to not hit the people up that you shouldn't be hitting up, right? The people that don't have your best interests at heart, you do have the ability to like cross them out in your heart, Not that there's anything wrong with them other than the fact that they're engaging in stuff that is hurting me, right? What I would say to you, Andrew, is there are things that we have control over and there are things that we don't, right? And the things that we don't are vastly outnumbering the things that we do have control over. So I would identify what's within your power and then run it, right? Run that up. Like whatever you have your power over, start affecting those things, right? Which basically is just you, right? The invisible circle I draw around my feet in the morning, that's what I have control over, everything inside that circle. So, there are probably ways that you can affect this situation. They're just far fewer than the ways that you can't, right? But even operating within the confines of what we have control over, I think we can be very effective. So thank you for sharing that. And I really, I want you to, if you're down, I want you to let us know how things are going moving forward, dude. Absolutely agree. Kind of had to adopt an action of avoidance. I hear that, dude. I definitely can agree with that and relate. And relate. It's kind of becomes a bummer because I have like affection in my heart for a lot of these people that I don't hang out with anymore, right? I just have to remind myself that this is serving a great, great purpose. The circle got smaller, everybody can't go. And just because I love this person doesn't mean that they're benefiting me. And I don't keep people in my life because they're benefiting me, right? But I definitely try to create space between me and people that are negatively affecting my life, whether it's direct or indirect, right? Like, great example. When I lived in Salt Lake right before I moved here, I lived in a little studio apartment, but it was like a house that had been converted into three separate living spaces. So I had two neighbors. They weren't roommates, even though we were in the same building. They remodeled it, and you couldn't get into the spaces from the other spaces, right? You had to go outside to get into the other doors. Anyways, my neighbor, love him, love Alex to this day. I still go visit when I go back to Utah. But that being said, he's a partier. He's living a different lifestyle, a lifestyle that I used to live with him, right? Um, and to his credit, he goes to the gym all the time. He got me back into the gym, right? So we're getting healthy and stuff. But in this guy's free time, he does lots of partying, and he's next door, so we hang out a lot. We play music together, we play games, we party. I had to limit my like interaction with him, or pardon me, that's not the right way to say that. I had to change my relationship with Alex because the way that we had been hanging out and the way that we had been existing together was not benefiting me in sobriety, right? I can't go over there and like witness him doing lines. That's just not I'm not down, dude. Like it's not good for me. Especially like, I don't know, yeah. I don't The feeling of being out of control of my addiction was never so real for me as it was with cocaine. I have to say. Not that it didn't exist with alcohol, it did, right? But like, it was visceral and undeniable with blow. Like, the blow comes out, I'm doing it. Like, that's just as simple as that. So we don't do that anymore. But anyways, all that to say, I had to change my relationship with my dear friend, which was sad. It was hard for both of us, right? We spent a lot of time together. And the separation was necessary for me to like reclaim my sovereignty. And we've got an epic episode today, guys. Speaking of sizes, it's come to my attention that the merch on our website is has like some sizing issues. I want everyone to know that that's come to my attention, and I'm looking into it, and I'm going to have a solution. If Fourth Wall can't provide intelligent sizing, we're going to have to use someone else. That's just as simple as that, which is weird because I feel like all the creators not all of them, but a large portion of the creators that I look at for ideas are using Fourth Wall. So just a little tangent about the merch. I don't know what the deal is with that, but I've started to look into it, and I'm going to fix it. All right. So let's talk about the physiological component. Um, so there are neurochemical changes going on in your brain when we're having cravings, right? Cravings are closely tied to brain chemistry, particularly the dopamine system, which is the reward system we always talk about, right? We're all very familiar with the dopamine system. When someone is repeatedly exposed to rewarding stimulus, aka food, drugs, alcohol, gambling, video games, insert anything here, right? Really, literally anything. Um, I lost my place. The brain's reward system. The brain's reward system becomes desensitized. Pardon me, sensitized. We usually use the word desensitized, but sensitized means accustomed to, right? Start to become familiar with. So if our brain's becoming sensitized to this process in we're like and it's like our craving. We're talking about craving here. That's not a good thing. But this is what happens. Over time, the brain is going to start to expect and desire the stimulus, reinforcing the craving cycle. Now, again, we can trick our brains by inserting something else here, like exercise is really easy, right? Because it's already going to stoke that cycle. But we can, again, put yoga here, we can put art here, we can put novel experiences here, put family time here. We can literally put anything here as long as it's releasing dopamine and we're thinking about it beforehand, right? That's reinforcing this reward system. The opposite of what's happening with the cravings. Because again, over time with the cravings, the brain's starting to expect and desire the stimulus, reinforcing that craving cycle. Now, as far as addiction, cravings are a core component, often leading people to engage in addictive behavior again, despite harmful consequences, right? We're all familiar with that. The cycle can be very hard to break as the brain learns to associate relief or pleasure with the substance or behavior. And this is, I think we all know this stuff. This is pretty basic stuff. Now, managing cravings, I didn't get through this part yet. So we're going to do a little bit of winging, but I think it's going to be all right. I see this, Annika. That is a interesting idea. I wonder if I can. I'll have to make a painting especially for it, I think, because of the way that it all works. That's not a bad idea. Yeah, a lot of thought-provoking trails today, for sure, Jeremy. I'm like, it's not serving me because I need to be talking and presenting and, but like I'm thinking about a million different things. That's what happens on a good episode, though. It's thought-provoking, right? We have all kinds of different things to think about and work with now. But I think the coolest thing about this is, I mean, for me, it's my morning. Y'all are all tuning in from different time zones and whatnot, but like this is how I start my day. So I get my head in the game immediately. Like the first thing I do is think about the lifeboat and think about lifeboat concepts. So like the rest of my day is like through that lens, which is not a bad thing at all. That is not a bad thing. Really keeps me dialed in, which I'm happy about. I have needed direction for many years. I've found it. Okay. Is TLB still doing a journal? Yes, we are, Grace. It's November 19th. We're coming out with the 2025 version, which is going to be the same thing with different questions, right? I would like to eventually do a hard copy, but that is proving difficult. So at the very least, we'll have another PDF version. If you haven't seen the one we have up now, let's see if I can pull it up. For those that haven't seen it yet, the Journal Companion is here. It is a digital every day of the year journal that has questions at the top of every page. So every day there's a question that's thought provoking, right? A lot of them, most of them are seemingly innocuous. But then on important dates, we hit you with the real deep thinkers, right? The whole point of the Journal Companion is to help you get started journaling. Journaling is not We recognize that journaling is not like intuitive for a lot of people, right? So we're trying to help people get in the habit of it because we recognize the vast benefits of journaling. So yeah, there's questions to get you thinking. Even if you're just answering the questions on the pages, you're doing more than not journaling, right? And eventually you get in the habit of writing stuff down and you'll become a regular journaler, right? That's the idea. So we will be coming out with version 2.0 for 2025. And I'm actually working on it right now. I've got a little over a month left to finish it. So wish me luck. Coming up with 365 questions is a drag, but I do it. I do it because I think it's great. I think it's a wonderful idea. I don't think a ton of people have utilized the Journal Companion, but that does not discourage me because I recognize the benefits. Let's talk about managing cravings for a little while before we relax. Happy early birthday, Scoob. Cognitive behavioral strategies. Therapies like CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy, can help individuals learn to recognize and manage cravings. CBT helps to address the underlying thought patterns and triggers that lead to craving behavior, which is like the essence of what we do here. I can't recommend cognitive behavioral therapy enough. This is a type of psychotherapy that helps people manage problems by changing how they think and behave, right? We're reprogramming our brain. Um, there's a car alarm going off outside. And it's irregular. It makes me feel like someone's doing it manually by leaning on the horn. And just to quickly talk about some CBT a little bit more, this is something you'll do with a therapist, right? You'll find a medical professional, which I am not. You'll find a medical professional that can do this for you. And I can't recommend this enough. It helped my dad a ton, helped my mom a ton, helped a ton of people on the boat, and it continues to help people all over the world. So I would highly recommend that you seek professional help, especially if you're struggling, right? Especially if you're not having an easy time. If stuff's rough, I would highly recommend that. What am I looking for here? Mindfulness and meditation. This is definitely more up my alley. Practices that promote awareness and acceptance of the craving without acting on it, right? So sit with this feeling. And again, I said earlier, like if you're feeling brave, sit down and write it all down in your journal, right? If you feel like you could turn the temperature up and be okay. If that's how you feel, you could also just sit down and meditate, right? Just sit down and feel whatever feelings you're feeling. Observe your thoughts coming into your head, right? But just like, like a little meditation session. Take the power away from these thoughts, these cravings, right? It's interesting to separate your mind from your body just even for a moment, right? In like a little meditation session. I understand that I may be speaking mumbo jumbo to a lot of people. But if you can sit down and sit with your thoughts without action, that is a feat, right? It's obviously not easy for anyone, right? But if we can do so, there's power in that. If we can separate our minds from our bodies, and what I mean by that is have these intense thoughts, right? I'm having cravings, right? That's the emotion and thought that I'm sitting with. If I can feel that, if I can really like sit with that and dive into it and not act, I'm separating my mind from my body, right? There's power in that. I can now observe exactly what's happening in my mind. I can probably see more clearly about the causes, the roots, right? So I can't recommend this enough. If you feel brave, if you feel like you could turn the temperature up and you're not going to freak out, right? Sit with this, meditate on it. Now, substitute behaviors is something else we can do. Developing healthier coping strategies, such as engaging in physical activity or socializing. We talk about this all the time. Sometimes when I'm having a bad day, when I'm not feeling right, mentally or physically, sometimes I just need to get out of here and go hang out with my friends and try to be normal. Sometimes that's all it takes. I might not be 100%, but it's going to be way better than isolating and going farther down the rabbit hole, right? Medication. In some cases, medications can be used to help manage cravings. I know my mom did Wellbutrin for a lot of time. Um, I mean, this probably also we could put Suboxone on this list right here, right? Obviously, it's very unique and different. Methadone as well for opioid addiction, right? Um, but there is medical assisted treatment. I would not shake a stick at any of these methods. They have proven to be effective for a lot of people. Without medical assisted treatment, without Suboxone, I wouldn't have a dad. You know what I mean? And honestly, without Wellbutrin, I might not have a mom. Who knows, right? What would have happened? But medical assisted treatment is real and it's real powerful. Um, I was disagreeing with my buddy Hayden like the other day about this. Some people don't subscribe to this way of thinking, right? He's doing subs and he's not counting days because that's not good enough for him, and that's fine, right? To each their own. Whatever he sounds good and he feels good and he seems cognitive and he seems driven and on the right path. So who am I to tell him what the heck's going on, right? He's got it. He's got it going. He's got it going. That's just fine. But I tell you what, if I have to take a little bit of Suboxone so that I'm not putting needles in my arm, I think I'm winning. You know what I mean? That's how I feel about that. And I don't think that whether I'm counting days or not is a big deal as long as I'm headed in an upward trajectory, as long as I'm bettering myself, right? Now, bettering myself isn't necessarily the end all be all, but if I'm in the throes of a deep, dark mental, physical, substance abuse, addiction kind of situation, I think that bettering myself is really the only thing that matters, right? Doing a little bit better than I did the day before is the only thing that's going to save me. So that's how I feel about that. What's going on, Charlie Mullins? Good to see you, man. Hope you have a great day, Charlie. Yeti Man Channel says I was on Suboxone Subutex for 10 years. It helped for sure, but I overdid them and abused them bad. There's definitely a potential for this, right? 100% definite potential for this. And, I don't think anything is going to be perfect, man. I mean, if I'm abusing a little bit of subs or Subutex, I think it's still better than putting a needle in my arm. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, complete abstinence is ideal, but not realistic for some people in some moments, man. And that's all I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to, like, yeah, you get it. Yeti Man gets it. You get it. It's interesting. It's very, very interesting. All of this is so thought provoking. It's wild. Robin Miners. I'm pretty sure that's what I have to say today, guys. How about this for a closing statement? The phenomenon of craving is not just about the intense desire to use a substance or engage in a behavior, but also about the brain's learned responses and how it has become conditioned to expect a certain outcome. Addressing cravings often requires a combination of psychological, physiological, and behavioral interventions, especially in the context of addiction. So, all of those big words to say, often we need help. There's so many aspects to this, right? Psychological, physiological, behavioral. We're going to need help most likely. Um, and if you can get help, why not get some help? Right? This is hard. This is not easy, and it's also not a race. It's a marathon. We're going to have to consistently apply pressure to these parts of our lives if we want to see change, right? So whatever help I can get, I'm taking it, man. You know what I mean? The odds are forever not in our favor. The percentage of people that beat addiction in the world is astronomically low. It's terrifyingly low. So yeah, we need all the help we can get. And that's why we band together like this. That's why we come together to the lifeboat, share love, connection, experience, strength, hope. You know. Um, so I appreciate you guys all being here. You make my morning every morning. I love you guys. Um, from a humble Captain Calhoun, thank you very much. Hit that like, subscribe, and the bell for notifications if you like what we do here. Certainly makes a big difference. Shout out to my dad and Uncle Johnny. I hope they feel better ASAP. Hope you have a great day, James. Sorry if I missed you leaving. Yeah, guys. We'll hang out for just a little bit and then I'm going to shut her down. We will be painting today. I think I know what time zone I'm in. I think I'm a part of the mountain time zone now. So that means that when it's 10 o'clock here, it's noon on the East Coast, right? Is it noon on the East Coast right now? Got any East Coasters in here? I'm glad you caught alive as well, Annika. I was starting to wonder if I had run you off or something. Obviously not, right? But my brain does ask silly questions sometimes. Back on Tuesday, if not popping in before my B-day. When's your B-day? Got a birthday coming up. It's noon here. Cool, perfect. So we will be painting today at 4 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Mountain time. Is it? It's called Mountain Time, right? Yeah. Yeah. See? Yeah. What'd you guys think about today? Was it good? Did I do a good job? I put a lot into that one. I feel like the phenomenon of craving is talked about a lot, and it's always talked about through a certain lens. So I strove to come at that from a different direction, come at that from like a clinical side, which I don't always do, but about to do a clinic on this behavioral training stuff, you know? About to do a clinic. The one day next week you don't have work. Aw. Tuesday the 26th. All right, all right. Fair enough. I will remember. I won't forget. I got a birthday cupcake for you. I want to also say what's up to all the new faces. It was really cool to meet you guys. I hope to see you again soon. And I think on that note, I might wrap it up. Wrap it up, B. If I got to get a real life wrap it up box so I can make that joke for real. My brain is definitely spicy enough to look at it differently mocked. And you know, I feel like that's one of my favorite parts about myself. If you don't have a favorite part about yourself, I would identify it. It really helps on the self love journey. I love that I see things so strangely sometimes. And I didn't always love that, but I do love that about me. Getting the itch to try again yourself, Andrew? Well, I think I'm not entirely sure what the plan is for painting today, but we will be painting. And when I try to pull up my second camera, it gives me a freeze frame of me doing random stuff. It's very silly. I think I'm not sure, dude. You know, I'm kind of at a like a stuck point, but I know that I'm not done with the water, which the showering on the eyeball at the bottom, that's the water. I'm not sure. I'm not done with the water. I'm not done with the grass. I'm not done with the tree. I'm not done with the sky. But I just don't know what to do. So maybe I'll come back and like kind of doctor up the lightning or something. We'll do something. I'm sure we'll find some fun stuff to do. Add some leaves, says crucial flow research. Novel idea. Definitely a good idea. I wanted this tree to be dead, but dead trees have leaves too, you know? Dead trees have dead leaves. So we'll see. We'll see about it. Valerie 102. Whoa, it's been a long time, yo. How are you? Hope this message finds you well. Painting activates that right brain. It keeps you in MAAT. Matt. Oh, keeps you in night. I do really enjoy that right brain activity, man. I tell you what. In fact, I have to like forcibly take myself out of the right brain sometimes because I'm just in la la land all the time. I've missed you, Valerie. I was about to shut it down, but now you showed up. But now you're here. We've started doing painting days, and today's a painting day at 4 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Mountain Time. I'm going to be painting some more of this painting here, Valerie. I would love it if you joined us. If you have time, come hang out and paint with us. Matt means balance, but so much more. Okay, Chris, this is a deep dive I'm gonna have to do myself today. An ancient Egyptian religion. Interesting. Righteousness and orderedness. Curious, very, very curious. I appreciate you sharing that, Chris. Just don't make me promises. You ever heard that song Promises by Incubus? Just make me one. Wait, what does he say? Just promise me one thing, babe. Don't make me any promises. It's a great song, but you can promise. It's fine. I accept. I originally wanted to put fall leaves on it, and maybe we'll take it away from dead tree land. It'll probably look better with leaves on it. I'll come through with some nice red and some nice yellow, and maybe like a brown, like an in between red, brown, yellow. I think that's a great plan. We're going to have to practice some leaves on something else so that I know what my plan is. But I think that's what we'll do. I think that's a great plan, Lester Crochet. Coming back to the original plan. All right, guys. On that note, I am going to shut her down. her being the stream. Much love. We will see you in a few hours. All right. Bye.